Hi, friends. Today, I'll tell you about an art house film in the genre of dramatic thriller called Blindness. It starts with the morning rush of a bustling metropolis, where everyone is heading off to their business. A young Asian man is hurrying to work when something strange happens to him. He loses his sight right while driving, causing a huge traffic jam. Bystanders gather around the car, and one of them offers to help the man, taking him home so his wife can handle what's happened. The helper drops the blind man in the middle of the road and tries to leave. But a moment later, he returns to finish what he started. The blind man doesn't realize he's leading a thief into his apartment, a thief planning to rob him. When the wife gets home, she sees a broken vase in the hallway and notices her husband's cut hands. The woman immediately books an appointment with a private ophthalmologist to avoid wasting time in public hospitals. The doctor listens to the patient's complaints with skepticism. Tests show no changes. Medicine doesn't know cases where vision disappears in an instant. And the blind usually complain about total darkness. But the Asian man, on the contrary, describes his state as a white fog. The doctor gives him a referral to a public hospital and dismisses him. Meanwhile, the thief who stole the man's car is driving around the city, but his fun is cut short when the police cross his path. The man is forced to ditch the car and run away on foot. Just a short distance later, the thief realizes his own vision is also fading. At home after his workday, the doctor tells his wife about the strange case of blindness. The couple shares their theories, not ruling out that the man might be faking it. Another patient of the doctor always wears dark glasses on his advice. But eye problems aren't the only reason. At night, the girl works at a local hotel, and it helps that the glasses make it harder for people to remember her face. That evening, after her ophthalmologist visit, she heads to a hotel room where a wealthy client is already waiting for her. The police bring the thief home, who only sees bright white light, but the tired wife denies knowing him and asks for him to be taken away from her apartment. The girl at the hotel also panics, running out of the room, seeing nothing but white light. The doctor reacts most calmly to his blindness. He tells his wife that he most likely got infected from the Asian man, so she should be careful and stay away. But the woman has no intention of leaving her husband at this moment, and after calling an ambulance, she waits for the doctors with him. Dozens of infected people start arriving at the hospital, including all the patients the ophthalmologist saw that day. The information quickly reaches the government, which begins to take measures to prevent the spread of the unknown disease. The doctor's wife packs his things and brings him to the ambulance, but they refuse to let her ride along with him. The woman claims she's also lost her sight, so they allow her to go with him. The couple is taken to a psychiatric clinic where one building has been designated for the quarantine of those infected with blindness. The doctor and his wife manage to secure the best spots, deciding to keep it secret for now that the woman can still see. The ward quickly fills with new patients, including the girl in dark glasses, a boy, the Asian man, and the thief. The men start fighting, blaming each other for what's happened, and the doctor has to break it up. The doctor's wife takes on the role of guide, explaining that she's had time to study the place. She teaches the others to count the steps and turns to remember the way to the bathroom. Holding on to each other, the unlucky group explores the building, and the thief tries to grope the brunette but gets a hard hit from her heel in return. Two doctors try to patch him up using only dirty towels. More infected continue to arrive, and the ward fills to the brim. Among the new arrivals are the Asian man's wife and the policeman who arrested the thief, leaving no doubt that the disease is contagious. But it quickly becomes clear that no one intends to treat or even examine the sick. When they ask for help for the wounded thief, the guards threaten to open fire. Boxes of food are delivered to the ward, but there's not enough for everyone. The doctor's wife tries to report this and other problems using an emergency phone, but no one cares about the prisoners. Chaos breaks out in the hallways as the blind relieve themselves and strip wherever they want. None of them seem to mind, but the doctor's wife tries to handle the situation on her own. She brings an elderly man with a radio into their room. He went blind later than everyone else and can still share the latest news from the outside world. According to the old man, no one is planning to save them, and the government is doing everything possible to isolate the infected to avoid a catastrophe. A new group of the blind arrives, and the guards deal harshly with those who lose order. Tensions arise between the patients as well. The third ward is filled with criminal types, who quickly seize control by grabbing all the food rations. The thief's condition worsens, and he tells the doctor's wife that he knows she can see. He tries to escape, but they immediately take him down. Overwhelmed by responsibility, the woman begins to lose hope. The third ward issues an ultimatum. Now, only those who hand over all their valuables will get food. Jewelry, money, electronics. The doctor's ward gets the least since neither the doctor nor his wife are liked by the thugs. Among the criminals, the doctor recognizes the sound of an old man writing in Braille, meaning he was born blind, and poses a similar challenge to the sighted woman, who was the key advantage of the first ward. But unlike her, the old man doesn't plan to use this advantage for the greater good. The doctor blames himself for not defending the food for his comrades and refuses to eat their already meager supplies. The brunette in dark glasses is beside him by chance, and to comfort him, she gives herself to him. The doctor's wife notices but doesn't intervene, walking away to think things over. When she returns, she doesn't blame either of them, promising to continue taking care of them without holding any grudges. This trial seems insignificant compared to what the third ward comes up with next. The criminals realize that there are no more valuables left, and now they want women in exchange for food. After some discussion, all the women in the room go on the mission, despite some men being against it. The thugs' celebration goes as planned, and they all get what they wanted. Each one fulfills fantasies they couldn't in ordinary life. Most women suffer terrible humiliation, and one of them returns to the room already dead in her friend's arms, having been killed by a mad tyrant who found her too cold. Unable to tolerate the chaos, the doctor's wife waits for the next evening when the women from the neighboring ward are scheduled to visit. Armed with scissors, she decides to take out the gang leader, promising to kill one each day if they face any more food shortages. The patients realize that by helping, the doctor's wife has started a war. Some suggest handing her over to the third ward, but most decide to stick together. The blind build barricades, preparing for the worst. One of the middle-aged patients quietly leaves the room and sneaks into the criminal's den. Crouching in a corner, she sets a mattress on fire, causing the entire hospital to blaze. The doctor's wife leads her group outside and calls for the guards, but it turns out no one has been at their posts for a long time. Breaking the locks, she opens the gates, telling the blind they are all free. The doctor and his wife separate their group from the main crowd and head toward the city. Everyone they encounter has also lost their sight, and chaos reigns in the center. After hiding their friends in an abandoned cafe, the doctor's wife and husband set out to find food and clean water. The woman arrives at a supermarket where the shelves have long since been stripped bare, but using her sight, she doesn't lose hope and heads to the stockroom, where a full fridge of fine products awaits her. After packing several bags, the doctor's wife heads for the exit but almost becomes the victim of hungry blind people who, smelling the sausage, are ready to tear apart the one carrying it. The doctor pulls her out, and they return for their clothes. While waiting for him, the woman watches as a pack of dogs devours a body on the ground. But nearby is a dog that refuses to eat such meat, despite the hunger, and noticing a kindred spirit in the doctor's wife, follows her. Finally, the long-awaited rain begins, something that had been sorely missed recently. But to avoid soaking the food, the woman hides in a church, where a sermon on the current events is taking place. All the statues of saints have their eyes covered, and the pastor urges everyone to find meaning in what's happening. The couple rushes back to the cafe, but their friends are no longer interested in food. They all step outside to wash and experience the new sensation of rain, something no one had ever really noticed before. For the first time in a long time, the city's people feel genuine joy. People, unashamed of each other, strip off their clothes, not realizing the woman has no place to avert her seeing eyes. After spending the night in the shelter, the next morning, the doctor's wife leads her small group back to her home, not knowing what awaits them there. The dog heads to its new home with the group. In the mansion, Everything remains just as it was on the day they left for the hospital, meaning no intruders had broken in. The first thing the hostess does is hand out clean clothes, and the group, split in half, takes turns enjoying a hot shower. The brunette begins to care for the one-eyed old man, and he confesses that this period has been the happiest time of his life, so he doesn't want, like the others, to complain about it. He dreams that he will never be alone again. The Chinese couple also spends time talking, reminiscing about the early days of their marriage. The hostess organizes a festive dinner. The next morning, the woman announces that the group must come together and make a plan for their future. How they will live, where they can get food, and who will be responsible for their safety. But the meeting never happens, because the young Chinese man begins to see again. First the silhouette of the hostess, and then her face. Excitement erupts in the house. Everyone is thrilled that their friend has regained his sight, and everyone hopes that their turn will come soon. But two people feel strange. The one-eyed old man doesn't want his happy life to end, and the sighted woman, who has gotten used to carrying the burden, now feels a mix of emotions. At one point, she even thinks she's gone blind herself, but it's just the milky sky over the city. And that's where the movie ends. Let me know what you think in the comments. And don't forget to support us with likes and subscriptions.